In this lesson, we're going to talk about living in the media age. Specifically, we'll learn to identify the premise and conclusion of an argument, identify types of logical fallacies, which is where we'll spend most of our time, and learn the 5 steps to evaluating media information. First, identifying parts of an argument. Logic is the study of the methods and principles of reasoning, or another way to think about it is a proper or reasonable way of thinking about something. An argument uses a set of facts or assumptions, also called premises, to support a conclusion. A fallacy is a deceptive argument, an argument in which the conclusion is not well supported by the premises. Example 1. Identify the premise and conclusion of the following argument. Ford makes the best pickup trucks in the world. More people drive Ford trucks than any other light truck. So when you're looking at this, think about what factor assumption is being made, which will be your premise, and think about what the conclusion is. In this case, it might be easier to identify the conclusion first. That's how I looked at this example. The conclusion is Ford makes the best pickup trucks in the world, and what this person is using to support that is that more people drive Ford trucks than any other truck. So the premise or the assumption, or maybe the fact that they think is being made, is that more people drive Ford trucks than any other truck, and this person is concluding that Ford makes the best pickup trucks in the world. Example 2. Identify the premise and conclusion of the following argument. Many persons are sentenced to death due to mistakes or careless work by policemen and prosecutors. Therefore, the death penalty should be abolished. Usually what follows therefore is the conclusion. Okay, and what's supporting that in this case is that the many persons are sentenced to death due to mistakes or careless work by policemen and prosecutors. So that is the premise. Okay, so logic has a set of facts and assumptions that support the bottom line or that are supporting the conclusion. Next, we'll identify types of logical fallacies. Remember that when a fallacy occurs, it means that the conclusion is not well supported because the person didn't reason properly when they committed the fallacy. So appeal to popularity. Many people believe P or something is true, therefore it is true. Example, McDonald's sells more hamburgers than any other restaurant, therefore they make the best hamburgers in the world. So in this case, they're appealing to the fact or assumption that McDonald's sells more hamburgers than any other restaurant. So when I'm identifying logical fallacies, I try to think of what else could it be or what other conclusion is possible. In this case, McDonald's sells more hamburgers than any other restaurant. Well, maybe it's because of the location of the McDonald's restaurants, or the cost, or the app that makes it super convenient. So it doesn't necessarily mean that they make the best hamburgers in the world. So the conclusion is not well supported because of the appeal to popularity. Next, false cause. A came before B, therefore A caused B. Example, I placed the quartz crystal on my forehead and in 5 minutes my headache was gone. The crystal made my headache go away. So in this case, A, or what came first, is the quartz crystal, and what followed is the headache going away. Well, maybe when this person placed a crystal on their forehead, they relaxed for a few minutes and their headache went away. There's other things that are possible, but typically with a false cause, you can think of it as it's related to a superstition, if that helps you remember what it is. Appeal to ignorance. There is no proof that P is true, therefore P is false. Example, I guess I didn't get the job. They didn't call me back. So maybe they haven't decided yet. Okay, just because you don't know that you got the job doesn't mean that you didn't get it, possibly at this point in time. Or another one would be, there is no proof that aliens exist, therefore aliens don't exist. Well, maybe they do, and we just don't know yet. Hasty generalization. Two things, A and B, are linked one or a few times, therefore A causes B, or vice versa. So for instance, 2 cases of childhood leukemia have occurred along the street where the high voltage power lines run. The power lines must be the cause of these illnesses. So we've got cases of childhood leukemia, we've got power lines in the same vicinity, one must have caused the other is what this is referring to or jumping to. So hasty generalization is jumping to a conclusion based on limited information. Another example of hasty generalization is, let's say you see two teachers eating In-N-Out Burger, and then you conclude every teacher eats In-N-Out Burger. Well, just because you saw a couple doing it doesn't mean that they all do it. That's an example of hasty generalization. Limited choice. Something is false, therefore only something else can be true. Or P is false, therefore only Q can be true. Example, you don't support the president, so you are not a patriotic American. That's not true. You can like the country without liking the president. Identifying types of logical fallacies. Another one is appeal to emotion. P, or the premise, is associated with an emotional response, therefore it is true. So for instance, this Michelin tires ad with the cute little baby Michelin, because so much is riding on your tires. It's creating that soft spot for children. However, maybe it's not the best tire. We don't know. Personal attack. I have a problem with a person or group claiming P, therefore P is not true. So an example, he may be a qualified candidate, but he has tattoos, so I won't vote for him. So the reason that this person is being disqualified is because of the tattoos, not the platform that they're standing on. So when you're analyzing an argument, when you're analyzing the set of premises or assumptions and the conclusion, what we don't want to look for is attacking the person rather than attacking the argument. Now, this doesn't mean that we shouldn't look for credible sources when we're looking for information or for resources. But when it comes to analyzing the argument, the personal attack, such as the tattoos, is a logical fallacy in this case. Circular reasoning. P is true. P is restated in different words. The argument states the conclusion, for instance. So example, you must obey the law because it is illegal to break the law. Well, illegal to break the law means you should obey the law. So it said the same thing twice, essentially. Diversion, or a red herring. P is related to Q, and I have an argument concerning Q, therefore P is true. So for instance, when you're getting home late past curfew, you distract your parents by talking to them about the weather or how cold it is, how rainy it is, etc. So red herrings are kind of a look over here distraction. One that we see today in our current world is people will say, if you kneel, you don't support the troops. By saying that, whomever is saying that, they're distracting from the reason why people are kneeling during the Pledge of Allegiance. Next, strawman. I have an argument concerning a distorted version of P, therefore I hope you are fooled into concluding I have an argument concerning the real version. So for instance, after Will said that we should put more money into health and education, Warren responded by saying that Will hates our country so much that he wants to leave it defenseless by cutting military spending. Just a second. Will didn't say anything about cutting military spending. He talked about putting more money into education. So Warren puts up this false argument or this false point about cutting military spending to tear it down. So a red herring is a distraction. It's kind of a look over here. A straw man is when the premise or the point is misrepresented and then torn down. Okay. Also, there can be some confusion with straw man and personal attack. Personal attacks are straw man as well because they're distracting from or they're taking away from the argument and being torn down. But not all straw mans are necessarily personal attacks. Okay. 5 steps to evaluating media information. And really, I think this could be true for any type of information that you're reading or taking in. So first, consider the source. Is it something that's credible? Is it clickbait? Where did it come from? Consider the date. Is it recent? Frequently on social media, you'll see people copy and paste links to articles or news sources or information. But if you click that link, the information could be old or outdated or a few years old. Validate the accuracy. For this, make sure that other credible sources are saying the same thing. Next, watch for hidden agendas. Sometimes the points are misrepresented or you could be being manipulated to feel or to think a certain way. So be on the lookout for that. And then lastly, don't miss the big picture. Does it make sense? Use your critical thinking skills to evaluate if what is being said is true. Thanks for watching. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to reach out to me.